All right, welcome everyone. This is a Viper Professional Training and Support webinar. Today's date is March 11th, 2019. This is a Monday night webinar, and the title of tonight's webinar is 4 Trade Setups You Need to Memorize. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar. Other webinars we have, our live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems, should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right, if not, we're going to go ahead and get started. By the way, we'll have a little bit of quiz tonight too, because I want to see if everybody's astute enough to see the charts and see where the trades are. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over to a little screen here. And the 4 trades to memorize is pretty easy. You know, the phantom with criteria, and this is very important when I say with criteria, because a phantom is not a phantom unless it's with a certain criteria. The mid-band with criteria, the minimum criteria trade, and the trend change after a retrace. Okay, now we will have a new real-time alert indicator coming soon. I think most of you come to the trading room, so you probably already know this, but there will be a new real-time alert indicator coming very soon, within the week, I'm hoping. All right. Now, you want to use your region and your wedge a lot of times. You know, that's what I like to use personally. You always want to draw your support and resistance on your charts. And you watch the predictors for pullbacks. Okay? And as far as the trend change goes, watch Lightning 3 on the left side of the chart. Draw your trend lines and trade against the background colors and bar colors if your trend is still heading your direction. That's extremely important. Because what they're doing nowadays, and they do it a lot more than they used to, is they come a little bit deeper. And, you know, to change colors on a chart, it takes a while to get the colors to change back. Because, you know, it's obviously looking like it could be a trend change. But we know it's not in a lot of cases, and I'm going to show those tonight. Okay? Now, real quick, just to let you know, I want to go over a little sheet here that I've got. All right, this little sheet here is going to show a mid-band long trade. Okay, a mid-band long trade, you want to stay away from mid-bands that are with the lighter colored backgrounds. And you also want to stay away from mid-band trades if they're not stair-stepping one way or the other. Not in a flat, you know, if that mid-band, for instance, has been flat for a long time, you got to really watch that, because you can get whacked in and whacked out and everything like that. Let's see, are these docs on the website already? No, Raymond, but they will be. Okay, so basically the background must be green and the midband must be lime green or blue for these midband long trades. And you want them to be stair-stepping in an upward direction. You're looking for a potential breakout, box long entry, or a trend line type trade. And the trade would need to have a bar touch below or close below line 4 and must stay with the bars closing in the midband area. The midband area, everybody knows, is line 3 to 5. Okay? Now, for the midband short, and I'll just go over these real quick. For the midband short trade, the background must be red. The midband must be red or magenta for the midband trade short for a potential breakout short entry. The trade would need to have a bar touch above or close above line 4 and must stay with bars closing in the midband areas, which is that yellow shadowed area. Okay, we'll go over the rules on several of these, and then we're going to show actual examples. All right, minimum criteria long trade. Now, this is a trade that I think a lot of people miss, okay, because you're kind of afraid that it's going to retrace more against you and things like that. But a minimum criteria trade, you really want the background must be green and the midband must be lime green or blue, not yellow. Okay? And you won't have a flat midband either. You're going to be stair-stepping. Okay, as long as you're stair-stepping, you're looking for this minimum criteria long trade setup and the trade would need to have a bar closed below the green stealth line and close below line 6, but they also must close above line 5 or they're going to get into the mid-band area. Okay? The minimum criteria short trade, the background must be red, the mid-band must be red or magenta for a minimum criteria short trade setup, and we'll show several of those today. For a potential breakout short entry, the trade would need to have a bar close above the red stealth and close above line 2, but they also must close below line 3. Okay, or it would be considered more of a box in near midband, right? Okay, now let's go over the phantom real quick. And keep in mind, you don't have to memorize these just yet because we will put this doc out. Okay, and I've got a video on the phantom trade already, and I really think everybody ought to watch it. But the phantom long trade setup has to have a lighter background color for a long and would be a touch below line 2, triggering the setup. This phantom trade cannot go below line 0 or a background change. Now, you can still take it if it's a background change, but it's technically not a phantom then, but it can be boxed in or trend lines drawn. Okay, the phantom short trade setup would be a lighter background. It's kind of a pink color for a short and would be a touch above line 6, triggering the setup. This phantom trade cannot go above line 8 or change the background. Okay, now the other trade that I like is Lightning 3 prints the text, the numbers, then prints text for Lightning 3 with a higher number. Once that high swing is broken up, it is a potential long trend change on that pullback. Okay, and the same way with the short, Lightning 3 prints the number, or the text for the number, then prints text for Lightning 3 with a lower number. Once low swing is broken down, it's a potential short trend change on the pullback. Okay, now like I said, we'll put this doc out there so that everybody can have it, and I've got instructions for the programmer that's above here, so I'll take that all out. Okay, bear with me 1 second. I want to show you a potential chart. Let me go ahead and show this one more time so that people can be sure and freeze this on their screen if they want to. Because these trades really, if you learn to take this trade, learn this trade, learn this trade, and learn this trade, you can make money trading. We prove it every single day. Let's see, could you put a photo with each description? We'll do that also. Yeah, it'll take a few days to get some of that done, and I want to get that indicator. But keep in mind that indicator is going to do it for you. It's going to be like the document in real time because it's going to look for these trades. Okay? All right, so let's go to another chart here. And a real quick quiz. On this particular chart, where would a phantom trade be? Is that a trick question, Gary? Are you really seriously asking me that? Okay, now let's put the predictors on. Let's see. All right, the predictors in through here more than likely were mid-band trades, right? But this one changed to this colored background, didn't it? See that colored background that we look for? So wouldn't your phantom trade be in this area right here? Because just like I said, it needs to touch above line 6 or even close above line 6, I like even better, and then roll over. Okay? So you want to see if that particular trade actually worked out on a phantom? That's it right there. Okay? Now this new indicator, when this background changes, that indicator is going to only be on that bar right there, and we'll leave it on for, I don't know, however many seconds or whatever. But this is a great phantom type trade that you're looking for to take. And could you take it like this? And could you take it like this? And it turns out to be a great trade, doesn't it? Okay. Also, what was telling you that this was more than likely a good short trade? Anybody? It hadn't changed trends. I mean, it wicked it, but let me just draw lightning 3 and I'll show you. Let's draw it from up here. All right, see how you have a high, low, lower, high, lower, low, and all they did is barely took out this right here. See that lightning 3 right there? That's just a perfect opportunity for a short trade. Okay? And that new indicator will flash when that bar closes up above here. Now, when the background changes, like it did on this particular case with the green and everything, that's going to be up to you whether or not you want to take it. But would you have taken a long here, though? I mean, let's say that you boxed it in right here, to give an example, and you got in on that bar. You got maybe, what, 5 ticks? But look at the short. The short's a very, very good trade. And that phantom type trade is absolutely one that you want to teach yourself to see. But you mentioned don't take phantom on the green background, Michael P. No, I mentioned what you want to do is when it changes background like this, you want to be careful for the rollover to be real. Because let's say, for instance, you were doing this and in real time, let's say that you took this, let's say it's going up and there's your background change right there. Okay, so the little indicator will come on telling you it's a phantom trade. Now, could you actually at that very moment pretty much box in that little candle right there if it happened to go down? And then if it goes up a little bit more, is this a trend change yet? And really the answer is no, right? And see, it actually ended up breaking down below your trend line. But yeah, you can box these in like this. Keep in mind that, if they go up above line 6 and then the next bar closes up, just box it in with line 6 as it rolls over. Because that particular type of trade is killer. I called the one on Russell earlier today and, it got in at a great place. Okay. Does everybody know what a phantom trade is real quick? Does everybody know how to see the phantom trade in real time? Yeah, because sometimes they'll go a little higher. Now, if you expected this to go down, you would expect it actually to respect this swing. But, when they barely take them out, that's a lot of times where they're going to really shoot them down to the downside. But how many people are taking this long here, at the mid band? Now, granted, at like 8:30 in the morning, you can box this little trade right here. But if it goes up and hits its head at that resistance and rolls over, you better short it. Okay? Now, what we'd be looking for, let me just show you what we'd be looking for in the case of a long trade. If this would have gone long, I would have been looking for this right here. You would have to break up above this swing, okay? Something like this right here. You'd have to break up. And then you'd have to come back and kiss it. Okay? Now, you don't know how far it's going to break up. When I draw this arrow, I'm not saying they'll all go 20 ticks because they won't. Okay? But it will usually thrust up above it and come back and kiss it. Now, that would be a long trade to me. If that did this and then I boxed it in, more than likely this would be a long trade. And by the way, this would have already stair-stepped up also and turned green. Everybody knows that, right? Because when it takes out, you're definitely going to get a stair-stepping up green. I'll show it to you on the chart on one that actually changed. Let's see, it's so high, it's on mid-band, but then it really goes through it. Why would it show so high? Let's see on the green, the magenta circle is so high, it's on mid-band. Well, really, Mindy, keep in mind on, just like when I called that ES trade today, remember when Charles was wanting it to go a little bit lower, but I said it shouldn't go lower if we're going to head up because we need a higher low. But see, this is a case where it does go ahead and kiss the swing on the left and then rolls over. And that's what you're actually looking for on that short. Now, if you're going to take this thing long, then you really almost need to literally draw your trend line and take it when it comes out. But you don't know that wasn't going to just go to line 2 and then roll over. So that is not a long trade to me. Now, did it work? Yes. But is it a long trade by my criteria? I like for it thrust down, retrace, so I can draw a good trend line. Okay, so I wouldn't take that long there. Okay, let's see if we're getting any other questions here real quick. Magenta circle is so high. You're talking about right here? This magenta circle here? Well, keep in mind, though, that this magenta circle, or this ellipse here, is actually just simply because the midband is this color right here. You know, because everybody knows, right, that you have the white and magenta on your ellipses, your predictors, when the midband is a short color. Okay, now keep in mind, you will not get a phantom trade without it at least changing to this color on the short. And the same thing on the long. It'll change this color. Okay, but is this a phantom trade, anybody? Because it changed to this color? No. Because what color is the midband? Let's see, it makes me think that because it's much higher than the ones to the left that it's going up. Well, see, basically if you look over here on your Lightning 3, you know, you're at what, 5620, and it went to 5623, but didn't even close there. So technically that's like a wick above, and it closed down below it. So that's actually respecting resistance. Now, could you have actually taken a quick, you know, trade if let's say that in hindsight, we like to box in at midband a lot of times, a nice little consolidation patch like this. You're thinking it might at least go up to here. Could you take that trade? I wouldn't wait for the bar to close. I'd probably just snap it. You know, the second I saw it take that box or that bar even, I'd probably snap it. And then you might have gotten a 10-tick trade. But keep in mind, if you're going to really make money on a day-to-day basis, you pretty much got to stay with the trend. Okay, is this a phantom trade here? And the answer is yes. If you bought this at line 2, you get 10 ticks. If you bought this at line 1, you'd get 10 ticks. Did this turn out to be a trend change? Yes. But was that a legitimate phantom trade? Yes. Because what you're looking for in a phantom trade is, on the long, you're looking for line 2 to line 1. Okay? Now, you don't have to take this trade, though, because keep in mind, when they double top like this, see your Lightning 3 right across here? They actually broke that right there. So that's that area that I talk about even shorting. Remember, we're talking about a potential trend change. It thrusts down, it kisses resistance and rolls. Okay? So that could actually be taken either direction. But usually as a rule, when I see this happen with phantom type trade, I don't trust the phantom. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and look real quick at that same chart again. Okay, so we know the phantom was right here, right? All right, let's keep looking at it. Could there possibly be a phantom right here, anybody? What says the team? What do you think on that? Could that possibly be a phantom trade? Let's look at the actual chart and see. So that was way down the way, right? And then we changed the background. Changed the background. That one wasn't a phantom, by the way. That was a blue bar probe, though. Change phantom. Okay, is that actually a phantom trade here? Anybody? Yeah. Yeah, that's a line 6 to 7 type of a phantom trade. Did it work out? Yep. So those phantom trades can be very, very good. And keep in mind, when you can see where they thrust up, retrace, and you can draw a trend line under those lows, you could actually get in that trade literally on that bar or that bar. See, because it broke that trend line. Okay? Phantom trade is always going to have the midband is going to be one of the short colors. Okay? That rose color is still short. Now, did this trade stay short? Let's find out. Pretty much, didn't it? Is this a phantom trade? Let's just see one that didn't work out, because that looks like that might be one that doesn't work out. Now, let me ask you a quick question. Is this a phantom trade or a potential trend change? Because see, you have a low, you have a high, you have a higher low, you have a higher high. Then you pull back here, so you have a higher low again, and you have a higher high. So is this actually taking out resistance on Lightning 3? And the answer is yes. Okay, so could that be a potential trend change? Yes. Okay, that's one of those trades that new indicator is going to warn you about. Because when you look at Lightning 3, let me just draw Lightning 3 real quick. When did Lightning 3 start stair-stepping up? Anybody? You had a low here, you had a high. You have an identified swing only when it takes this swing out to the left. So that's an identified swing right here. And that's a higher high than here. So I would probably put a line right across here like we drew just now and box it in. And that's the type of trade we get in that room. And that is a potential trend change. Okay, was this a potential trend change? Anybody? Draw your Lightning 3. I bet it wasn't. Your Lightning 3 is way up here, even here. So if you drew your line at Lightning 3, that was a good phantom type trade, wasn't it? Because it was not stair-stepping up. See, it was stair-stepping down. Now it is actually stair-stepping up, isn't it? Okay. So be sure and watch for that, because this particular deal that we're going to do on this, that actually will watch for these trend changes, possible trend changes. Lightning 3 will print the number. Then prints the number for Lightning 3 with a higher number. And once that high swing is broken up, it is a potential long trend change on a pullback or boxing in. Okay, same thing with the short. Okay, so without knowing Fibonacci's or any of the other stuff, you can clearly see on these charts that you can actually get the trade in the right direction if you just learn to watch for the signs that are happening. To give an example, if you saw this happening in real time and you said, you know what, I see that's trying to roll over, but could you draw a trend line across those tops right there? And then could you draw a trend line across that one right there? And you actually started breaking that trend line. Now, let me show you something that one of our members does real quick. I want to show you a picture. I think I've got it. Bear with me a second. Let me look for his picture here. See which one it is. It was today's. That's the 8th. That's the 8th. That's the 9th. Here it is right here. Let me get this over here for you. Now, judging by what we just talked about and drawing trend lines on charts and things like that, this is actually Ray's chart that he sent me on Skype. Now, you notice here, for instance, see this Lightning 3 swing that it broke? Could you have been long on this trade? Absolutely. But look at this trend line that he drew. Okay, this was today in our room this morning. And he said, okay, potentially it's breaking the trend line right here. Remember when I drew this line in the room and it broke that trend line? But you wouldn't want to short it there. Because what if it just barely broke the trend line and then popped right back up on a minimum criteria trade? That could have happened, right? But when did this trend actually for sure change? High, low, lower high, lower low. That was changing trends when it took this out, and he boxed it in right here and took that trade. And that's as simplistic as it actually gets. Okay, see that little circle that he drew right there? That's where he fired his short. Matter of fact, he Skyped me when he fired the short. Okay, so now if you look at this chart, it was still green and everything, wasn't it? Yeah, there you go. Brian said he took it there too. What you've got to realize is that you've got to get away from sometimes on the colors simply because things change and you want to be on the right side of the trade. So watch Lightning 3 on the left, draw your trend lines, and trade against the background colors and bar colors if trend is still heading your particular direction. You know, when that actually broke that trend line, it was actually starting to head down. But your confirmation was when it took out support. Okay? And that turned out to be a very, very good trade. Okay? So let's go back to, let's see, let's go to more or less like overnight. I want to see if some people can pick out some trades first off. Okay? Now, I traded this last night myself when the market changed over to, basically yesterday was March the 10th, right? And right here, let me just show you. Right here was 5 o'clock. Right in this area, right through here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 1701. Does anybody see a potential trade you could have taken here? Oh, it didn't change. Sorry about that. I just did it again. There we go. All right. See, this was support on Friday. Okay. This came down to midband and just kissed it. Okay. And this was just a little after 5 o'clock. So I actually went ahead and took this trade when it closed that bar on midband. And all I did was stayed in it until it just quit doing its ratchet up. You know, I got that nice little pop on it. I let it pull back here. Okay. And then it just kept stair-stepping up, stair-stepping up. You'd put your stop where? Just right under line 6, wouldn't you? And see, it took you out of the trade at line 6. Okay. So, if you think about that, that's a good $300 trade. Okay. And oil, by the way, doesn't shotgun around at the open on Sundays. So you can pretty much trade it a little bit easier. Okay. Now let's see. Let's talk about the other trades real quick. Does everybody in the room understand a phantom first off before I go any further? Everybody understand the phantom. Now keep in mind, a phantom trade can absolutely be a trend change. And if they've broken Lightning 3, you want to be really careful with the phantom. To give an example, with this being a high here, a low here, and a high here, would you really want this phantom? Well, it didn't happen anyway, but would you want it? And, you could box it, obviously, if it did that. But if it did this, wouldn't it be breaking, down? So when they break Lightning 3, be careful, because that's usually going to be a thrust down, retrace, and then roll. Just 1 second. It's not showing my cursor. Okay. This thing is not doing its unpause like it normally does. It's having a little bit of a lag. Okay. Everybody see what I'm talking about here? You have a high, you have a low. I got this trade just right after 5 o'clock last night. Popped up, gave me a nice little trade, pulled back and took me out. Okay. On my runner, because I was just watching it stair step at first. Okay, but when it started stair stepping back down, you get out. Okay, but what I'm saying is this support here is a Lightning 3. So if it broke down here, this phantom would more than likely not work, because that would be breaking Lightning 3. You'd more than likely be looking for a thrust down, pull back and kiss, and a roll. Okay. So always watch Lightning 3 on your phantoms, because if they're stair-stepping up and they break those Lightning 3s, then more than likely they're changing trends, or at least trying to change trends. Okay. Now let's talk about a mid-band trade. Mid-band trade, what you really want, don't pay attention to the time because it doesn't really matter on here. Notice, for one thing, it's meeting all the criteria of stair-stepping up. Okay, this is not a sideways chart. So that is a perfect mid-band trade. Don't pay attention to that was after. We're just looking at the mid-band. This was the trade I took right here last night. But this is a perfect mid-band trade. That's the type of trade you're looking for in a mid-band trade. Now, how could you be sure that it was going to go your direction? Well, draw your trend lines. Put your stop under there, and you get in the trade, and it never took you out. Okay, so mid-band trades, what you're looking for on the criteria on a mid-band trade is you don't really want a mid-band trade if it's not stair-stepping. In other words, you've got a nice major thrust and you get a mid-band type trade. Box in long only, absolutely, on that. Let's see. On which one did we say wait, Mindy? On which one? Because I want to make that as clear as I can. Go ahead and type in what you mean there, and I'll make sure that we're totally clear on it. I'll wait for your typing in, and then I'll answer it. Okay? Now, let's see if we can get, oh wait, let's see, like it touched below. You're talking about on which one did it touch below? Was it on one of these other trades? On the rules that you said? No. Well, when I say touch below, keep in mind if you get a higher low than before, this is still a mid-band trade to me, except that new indicator will not tell you that trade's there. Okay, because see, it didn't even touch predictor, and it did not touch below mid-band. Now, the way I've got the guy actually designing it is if it touches mid-band below it, see, this one didn't touch below it. It'd have to touch that line right there to be below it. So by taking this trade, I just didn't let it go back against me. Okay, this was a perfect mid-band trade here because it did touch below it. Okay, so keep in mind on trades like this, you know, if you're going to take this trade like at 5 o'clock yesterday, to give an example. All right, for one thing, I immediately put my stop just under here. Before I even took that trade, I mentally put in my mind, if this thing pops a bar and it goes against this swing over here, I am going to get out. Because at the open, they can take it down if they wanted to, right? Let's see, there's another one at 2000, 16 hours last night. So we're talking about 8:16 at night. Okay, let's look at that. 8:16 would be about oh, we don't even have it going that far yet. Okay, and that's a good question. Y'all want to see if you can pick out the next trade on here? What do you think? Anybody? Let's see if we can get it. All right, let's see if we can get let's diagnose our chart first. Let's see if we can get a trade. Okay, we're in a thrust, so we're not going to get it here yet. So let's draw on our chart. We cannot go under that swing. High, low, higher, high. Can't go under this swing or we're not heading up. So I draw on my chart. Okay, so then I look to the left to trade the right, and I see a swing across here. I'll draw it. All right, and I see one here that's closer to the left. See it? Thrust, retrace, thrust. So I'll bring it down to here. And that's right at mid-band. Okay, so can't go below here. And I'm thinking that it'll probably hit its head here if it doesn't go down to here. Now, this is actually a little sweet spot, in my opinion, right here. And if we get to mid-band and touch it, then we'll more than likely take this trade. You want to try it and see? Let's just see what it does. We won't put Object Trader on. I'm trying to teach more of the trades. You know, you don't care as much about that. I called the trades in the room to begin with. I'm not going to show my expertise on Object Trader. Okay, now real quick. High, low, lower, high, lower, low. That's an ABC, right? Now, does this look like a potential trade here? What do you think? Well, if you're going to wait for an actual mid-band trade, okay, keep in mind that you could actually already be ready. Let's just draw a line. Let's draw a trend line first. All right, and let's wait and see if we can get this thing boxed in. Now, is that a box? Let's do use Object Trader. Okay, even though this isn't coming to midband, does everybody see that you can pretty much see where this little trade is with the trend line? Could you actually just draw this trend line to get this trade? Because I've got the trend line drawn, thrust, retrace. You know, if you wanted to draw it tighter, you'd have to draw it like this, thrust, retrace, and then more like that, right? Exactly. Yeah, see, that's got a little thrust retrace. Now, if you want to really draw them, you know, where you don't get wicked in so easily, you can always look and see what's it really been doing. Thrust retrace, thrust retrace. So could you draw it from there to there? That's a 45-degree angle about. Okay. You could draw two of them, like so, right? You want to try one of them and see if it works? Okay, we're not going to do a region. We're going to do a wedge. We're going to do a touch plus 2. Let's try 2. All right, everybody knows that if the price is below, this is the trend line. It doesn't care about this one right now. Everybody knows that, right? Because the price either has to be above it or below it. And right now, that line doesn't count at all on your TMB buttons. Okay, so let's see if we can get something. Well, we got something. Feeling a little bit of heat on it. There's right where I think it's going to bounce. Now see why sometimes a trend line tight like that can hurt you? Now watch how this one more than likely will be your entry. Let's just see if it will. Because see, we felt what? Well, $80. That's not too bad. Let's see here what it does. And by the way, I'll go ahead and move this one out of the way and do this one, and we'll add one. Let's see if it works. Now we know we can't go any lower than this, right? Everybody sees that on the left side of the chart. So could I put my stop right under there? Exit on close? Yes. So I got a 13-tick stop, so that's $260. I'm at a mid-band trade. I've diagnosed my chart properly, so I know where it should bounce. See how perfect that is when they touch below that mid-band? That's why I want that indicator to actually tell you about that trade. Because I don't even like to get in them and feel $60 or $80, $100 myself. But could you also watch for the little thrust, retrace, you know, box it in and everything? Sure. Matter of fact, if this candle goes down, let's just kill this trade for the fun of it. Let's do a region instead. Let's draw a region. And right now, that would be a 1, 2, 3 reversal, wouldn't it? See there? And let's go ahead and do it again if it touches it one more time. Plus 2. See, that's a 1, 2, 3 reversal. See how I got in 2 by just turning that back on? And by the way, I could even turn on my wedge. Probably too late on the wedge. Let's see if we can get the wedge. 2 ticks above. See if it fires one. Goes 2 ticks. That's only 1 tick. Now that's 0. There's 1, 2. That's still just 1. There's 2. We didn't get it because evidently we didn't go through it. So that's okay. But everybody see that you're good to go on this trade? Could you then bring your stop right here? Now you're pretty protected on the trade. We're not into the money yet, so I'm not going to, there's no reason taking a contract off, right? There's absolutely no reason to take the contract off. Look to the left to trade the right. Try to get the swing. Draw a trend line. And more than likely, I'll bet you it'll go up a little higher, more like that trend line. And I'd probably tighten my stop as soon as we get a little lightning. Okay? Let's see, but you thought you shouldn't take it if it's going sideways. Well, this is still stair-stepping up. See your high, your low, your higher high, higher low. That's still stair-stepping. When it stops going up, you're going to notice that this mid-band is going to probably change to yellow, and you're going to get that, that yellow-looking background. So no, this is still stair-stepping up. That's definitely a good mid-band. High, low, higher, high. Higher, low, take the trade. Yeah, you get more of that tan background. Now notice we haven't made anything on this very much yet, but that happens. Let's see what it did. Now you can take some coin anytime you get around $100 or so. I usually like to personally go for about, somewhere around that, and I'll usually take some coin off the table. If I can get around $250, $300, that type of thing. And where would your stop be now? Anybody? Anybody? You could draw a trend line. If you wanted to protect this trade, you could draw a trend line. Short one if it happens to take out a touch +2 of that line right there. That's if you want tight. Now keep in mind, just like ES today, ES very seldom ever goes up like 200 ticks in a day. I mean, like you could probably put it on one hand in a year's time. So, when a person gets out early on a trade like that, that's not a big deal at all because you can always get back in it. If it does what? It has to do at least a minimum criteria trade or a mid-band trade. And if it does you like a phantom, that's even better. Okay? Now, one thing that you can get in the habit of looking at too, let me just draw lightning 2 on this chart. Okay? This kissed a mid-band. You did a 1, 2, 3 reversal, but when did it actually break this? Well, that's lightning 2, but couldn't you draw that trend line once you see that and get in even here? The later you get in, though, the heavier your stop's got to be. Okay, I like a jump. We diagnosed this in real time. We knew that it couldn't come down here if it was going to continue up. We knew that it hadn't checked here, and that's where it did check. See it? Right across there. Always look to the left to see your little swings. That's where they checked. And if you draw it, you'll see it. Always got to see where they've been. Let me just see if I can draw it. Yeah, see, this one, when it thrust up, see, it had never checked that swing. Stair-stepped up, never checked that swing. So a lot of times they'll come and they'll check those swings they hadn't checked. Is there a way to adjust the mid-band color? I cannot see the light green color. Paul, on your question, you can't with the indicator that we've got right now, but on Ninja 8 you can. Yeah, see, this one doesn't let you. Well, that might be Object Trader. Just a second. No, that's Object Trader there. Yeah, you don't have a way to adjust your color on here. No, that's Power Display, sorry. Power Trend. There we go. Yeah, we do have it in Ninja 8, though. I could actually have the programmer even fix it in Ninja 7 if you want to. We'll go ahead and add some more functionality to it. Okay. We can do that. Now, does everybody see now basically how you can draw on your charts? Keep in mind that those mid-band type trades are really, really good trades if they're stair-stepping. Where you want to be careful is if they're not stair-stepping. Okay? Now, when it starts going, this is basically for a long time sideways on the blue, but isn't that still stair-stepping up? Stair-stepping up, and then it comes down and it checks previous swing right over here. And perfect mid-band trade, that's a trade we just love all the time. And that trade is pretty much a trade on like a 1, 2, 3 reversal. Okay. All right, let's see if we can find, what do you think about minimum criteria trade? Let's just pretend we're not in anything and you get up and you're looking for a minimum criteria trade. Let's see if we can find one. All right, first off, minimum criteria trade. Let's see if we met all the criteria for a minimum criteria trade. Okay, we're stair-stepping up. High, low, higher, high. We're looking for a pullback into line 6. Close below line 6 and close below stealth. Okay, so let's see if we get something. I may go too fast. I'm not sure. We'll find out. I'll slow it down if I see it. No minimum yet. There's minimum. See it? Everybody see that minimum criteria trade right there? Is that setting up a minimum criteria trade, yes or no? It is, isn't it? So how could you actually take that trade right there? Anybody? Well, first off, draw your lines on your chart for support and resistance. So I'm going to draw right here. That's my lightning 3. All right, we can't go any lower than right here. Everybody sees that, right? High, low, higher, high. So you can't go any lower than this right here and respect the trend. Okay? So if it comes down here or even across here, I would look for a trade in this little sweet spot right in here. And remember, we're looking for what? Minimum criteria trade, right? So you want to try one and see if we can get one? Well, let's just box it or wedge it. Which do you want to do? You want to wedge it or box it? Let's just box it. Now, by the way, you can actually wait for a close above that line 6 if you want to. Okay, because to me, it hasn't come down here yet. Okay, it's got to at least check here. We don't want it to check here. Okay, so we're not going to get another mid-band trade more than likely unless it just wicks it. Everybody sees that, right? So let's see if we can get a trade. We'll just go for 2. Fast forward it just a little bit. I think I'm going to do like that. If it comes down here, we'll take it. Now you could just do like 1, to dip the toe, just in case this is going to do a little stair stepping down first. You could do just 1 and then add it if you wanted. Everybody sees that, right? Does this look like what? Do you think a minimum criteria trade setting up? Anybody? Now that it's done this, could you actually move your box a little bit like that? See how it would have to stair step up to take that out? Okay, we got the trade. We know we can't go down any further than here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my stop just right underneath that swing. That way I'm only risking 9. Okay, now if this goes again, I'm going to add one, and then I'm going to, that's enough, I think, because we don't want it to go any lower than here. Now you could bring your box like this, couldn't you? Where if it starts stair-stepping up. Let's fast forward this and see how it worked. If it worked. Yep, it's working so far. Checking again. Now, that's got a lightning 3 right there. I'd probably go ahead and put my stop just under there now. Everybody see how that minimum criteria works out? Now, notice though that on minimum criteria trade, it never came into, let's just kill this trade so I can show this. We don't care about the trade as much as showing why. We'll go ahead and put that on. Notice that it did not close back into line 5. Okay, it closed above line 6. We diagnosed it properly. It didn't quite come down to where I thought it might, but it just missed it by a couple of ticks. And that's why you want to go ahead and take that trade if it gives you the opportunity to take it. All it did was check that twice. Okay? So it's a pretty good way to trade, isn't it? You want to see if another one sets up? What says the team? And by the way, if they don't set up, then don't worry about taking it. Let's go ahead and fast forward this. I'm going to go to the opening of the room today. We'll let this thing just do its thing for 4 hours. It won't take a minute because it's 500 times. Because I'm not up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Keep on trucking, crude. Don't you hate it when they go up like that when you're sleeping? It looks like a little box-in type trade. Yep. Now let me ask a quick question before we go any further. Let's draw lightning 3 on this chart. Okay. Let's get rid of everything but lightning 3. Now does everybody see on the left side of this chart that you've got support right there? Okay. Now the right side of the chart, they're still retracing somewhat. Okay. Now, if they don't take this out, is it a trend change? Yes or no? Because see, you've still got a blue mid band. You're looking really for long trades, right? You're definitely looking for long trades. So let's see if we can get a phantom. And we're not going to take it. I'm just going to see if it gives us like 10 ticks. We'll just see if we get a phantom trade. Our background changed. We're looking for a phantom trade. Not yet. It's got to be in this little sweet box. There's your phantom trade. See if we get 10 ticks. Put your stop just under line 2. Out. Did that get 10 ticks? Probably not. It did get a few though, didn't it? Let's see if it still gets 10 ticks though. It looks like it is if you put your stop just under here. Yeah, it got 10 ticks. Okay. Now this is, if anybody remembers in the room this morning, this is the trade that I actually called. See how that bounced off of 29? Looking to the left to trade the right. Is this a short trade? Is this a short trade right here? Anybody? And the answer is no. Okay, it did change to a red background, right? Now, could we box it for a short? Absolutely. But keep in mind that if they don't change this lightning 3 on the left-hand side here, now the right-hand side they did go ahead and change. So you have a high, you have a low, you have a lower high, lower low. So you could be looking for a short at mid-band. All right, so let's get ready to box it in. But also draw on your chart just in case they break that trend line. Ever see that trend line right there? Now that trend line is a pretty good trend line, and all it's doing is actually bouncing off support over here. Now let's watch and see what actually happened. But you could actually, definitely do a mid-band type trade, but what if it doesn't work out? Well, maybe it doesn't even fire it. Let's find out. Now remember, we're retracement traders, so if you missed the little short rollover, and technically you didn't get it because you still had the blue mid-band. So this is the only short trade that I'd be looking for right here, is if this actually comes back up and kisses mid-band and rolls. Let's see if we can get it. Didn't kiss my line yet. All right, there's a little mid-band trade setting up, right? Does anybody remember, though, where I called this trade long this morning? And why did I call it long this morning? Because we were stair-stepping up and we bounced off support. So we actually literally took this trade on a trend line type break, and I called it long inside the little box. But could you be ready to take that trade like on a wedge, to give an example? Touch +2. Or could you just box it at the open? Because see this little white box at the open? Okay. Now that was actually a pretty decent area to get that trade. Does anybody remember that this was called in the room? Now keep in mind, when you get in a trade at the first part of the morning, they can go either direction. Okay, if this would have broken down below this swing right here, let's say that you drew 2 trend lines on this chart, something like that and that. Could you have actually gone whichever way it decides to go? That's what a wedge was designed for, was to see if you're going to break this wedge to the upside or break this wedge to the downside. And you could simply turn them both on. Everybody remember that trade? Now, how did we know that that particular trade was setting up in the room? Because you look to the left to trade the right. See, the left side of the chart, that was still an uptrend. So all they did was kiss support right down here. Now, our background changed in everything, right? But if you box in, you notice that you wouldn't have gotten short anyway. Okay, maybe you wouldn't have gotten long, but could you have boxed it? Let's say you weren't even in the trade. Could you have boxed it here at mid-band like we teach? Do you a region like right here, for instance, and say, you know what, engulf the bar right here. Maybe go to the left and see the swing. Could you do that? Yes. See the swing over here? Don't let it go against you if it does. See how it's breaking out of the little deal? Put your stop just under the box, and off you go. And that trade was called live in the room this morning on that bar up right there. Everybody remember that? And does anybody remember what a trade it was? See how that exit on close works? Golly, that was close. I would re-put my exit on close just under that swing if it didn't get me. Now, I was talking to some other people just a little bit earlier. How do you know how long to stay in a trade? Like, for instance, you're up nicely. Do you go ahead and take the coin? Or do you let it do what it actually did and it just starts going like crazy? You could take off some if you get a bar down, for instance. You know, could you stay in this trade though as long as it did this? Turn on bar close only if it takes out like a bar to the downside, to give an example. Or could you actually even use to scale out the region? And yes, you can. Do your little region trade, set it up like this, and if they do happen to take out that little swing right across there, you could go ahead and get out of one of your contracts. Did they do it? I don't remember if they did or not. We stayed with this trade quite nicely this morning. But you can scale out of trades. Okay, let's see. I was listening this morning and remember this call. Where'd you get into that trade? Yeah, Toby, on that one, I actually called that trade right here inside the box. And the reason I did that was because I saw it bounce here to begin with. And I also saw that it was stair-stepping up. This lightning was green at the time. You know, we had a really, really nice trade. And we just went ahead and stuck with it. But see where you would have put your stop, though. What if I would have been wrong on this? Well, for one thing, you had a trend line. So if you boxed it even right here, that was even a better trade, right? But the reason this was called in here was because as we opened the room, I saw this bar actually go down and this bar go up. And then I said, if it happens to go up inside that box with a bar closed, take it. Put our stop just under the box. We would have felt no heat whatsoever on that trade. Okay, now this is the area right here that I think a lot of people have troubles with. And I even have the same thing myself, okay? Because just to give an example, ES ran 100 and maybe even 200 ticks today, okay? But no matter what, you've got to be willing to give up some of your trade if you're ever going to hold for these monster runs, okay? Now watch what oil did instead, because remember, I actually turned on line 6, said I would get out of the trade if it happened to go exit on close below line 6, remember? And we got a little higher. This is why you've got to, you know, watch your coin. See how that's heading up nicely and line 6 is holding? Okay, but if it takes out line 6, you're done, right? Now, if you would have done that with ES today, see there, you just got taken out of the trade. Okay? Anytime they go up to that phantom and then come back against you, see, now this is still stair-stepping up as far as everything's concerned on it. Okay? You did have one more trade. Does anybody remember where it was? And could you see it in real time? Because we had it drawn in the chart in the room. You draw your lines on your support and resistance. You draw your lines on your support and resistance. So right across here. And that's a little bit below mid-band, so your trade is actually right in through this area right here. And that's the same there, and there's no other swing, so that's accurate right there. Let's see if we can get it. Does anybody remember this trade in the room this morning? This was also called. Now, I skipped it because I was good and green on this. That was enough for me. But watch these mid-band trades set up in real time. Is that actually a mid-band trade? Anybody? What says the team? That's a mid-band trade, isn't it? So could you actually box it with a 1, 2, 3 reversal and take the trade? And the answer is yes. That would need to be touch plus. Touch plus 2. And there's your touch plus 2. Put your runner out of the way. Bring your stop in as soon as you see lightning. There's lightning right there. See how it's trying to form lightning? Bring your stop just under there, and there's your lightning. And if you're up with 3 contracts like that, if you want to go ahead and protect it at like break even, you certainly can too. Okay. Now let me ask a quick question. If this was to head down, what would it have to break? Anybody? Let's just go fast forward on this. This is one of those indicators that's going to be with your package. Does that look like a trend change? See there? That was absolutely a trend change. Because what you're looking for, now was this a phantom when it breaks that lightning 3 like that? No. No. So where would you put your stop on this? Well, I would draw probably a trend line. Like down through here, like that. And more than likely get out of this trade pretty quick. Redraw it. And then you're out. This can actually be a just wonderful way to trade. Okay? Can be absolutely a wonderful way to trade. Was that a mid-band trade? Close to it. Didn't quite get up there, but that's a predictor. Could you have drawn a trend line? This went by a little bit quick, but see, there's a mid-band trade that you could have easily drawn a trend line, and you're short on that break of that trend line. Okay? Your target would be down here or here on the left. That's a pretty good little scalp, right? And that's actually close to a mid-band trade. All right, let's fast forward and let's see if we can pick out some other trades. All right, what do we got here? High, low, lower high, higher low. Could this be a potential trend change? Anybody? Let's see if it does. If it rolls, it'll be fine again, but see how that predictor's going up to. I'll just put a line across there and I will take a long if it breaks it. Now, usually what you want to do is on the little retrace. So let's see if we can get a retrace. A thrust up and a pullback, if it's going to do it. Kiss the line. Could have gotten you another quick short. Starting to stair step up. Okay, it broke out. Turned out to be a breakout trade, didn't it? See when they break those lightning 3s? Those literally work out pretty darn good. Now, if you missed that trade, does anybody see where the trade setup is on the chart? Anybody at all? Well, you've got a mid-band trade that just set up. Okay, so could you actually be in this trade on a mid-band type trade? Yes. It didn't quite come down to mid-band, okay, but it did pretty much hit the swing across here. See your little high, low, like it's stair stepping. That's a secondary swing, like so. And it did bounce off of it. Let's look at one other thing real quick. Get in the habit of drawing on your charts also. You know, because so far this has not taken out those highs and everything just yet. Draw you a trend line on your chart under those lows, just in case, you know, if it bounces off the trend line, everything's cool. And watch for lightning 3 at any time. If you get a lightning 3, see you got a lightning 3 up here. Let's see if we get one down here at all. There it is. So that would need to hold on any kind of a pullback. Lightning 3. Breaking Lightning 3. Could you short that trade? Absolutely, you could short that trade. Everybody see that? Broke Lightning 3. Now, that indicator is going to let you know that. And let me show you real quick on Raymond's chart, because I think he had that exact one drawn. Let me look real quick. Just 1 second. See where his photo was of oil on the 11th. Okay, so that was at 11:17. He didn't actually have that one drawn, but I could see where he would because he drew this one. See this one right under here? You could draw it and then look at this. It broke. So I think everybody can pretty much tell that you're going to be able to see some of these trend changes and everything a lot better. Okay? Now, what about this one right here? Is this actually like a little phantom trade so far? If it changes that background, you want to draw a trend line, right? And I would probably draw a little box. And if it breaks, and whether it's off now, see it, trend change. So what are we looking for now? Anybody? Well, let's look to the left to trade the right. We can't take this out if we're going to head up. So that's more than likely a little trade right there. See why I did that? Came right down to the line that I drew. And you got your little trade. Put your stop just under the swing as soon as that identifies. It's good enough. Now let me show you real quick, because I didn't realize I was running this much over. Let me show you on the ES this morning where you could get back in that trade. Just 1 second. Bear with me a second. I'm going to get an ES chart over here. Let's look at the ES chart. Does anybody remember in the room this morning, Charles wanted to test 53, 90, 75 or whatever that is. You know, that the line doesn't draw exactly, but remember what I said, that I figured if it got a higher low, okay, and we bounced, we were going to put a really tight stop just in case. Okay, and I said take the bar close to the upside. It was monster. And everybody remember, this had a line drawn on here, and the trade was taken off. But look at where you could get back in the trade. Watch. Don't just go chasing something unless you know, if you would have boxed this in right across here, right about the time we closed the room, you could have gotten that trade. But where's a minimum criteria trade? Anybody? Right there. Did this little trade work out? Let's just see. Put a stop under here. Okay. Take it if it closes above line 6. So we're gonna take the trade if it closes above line 6, and we'll put our stop right there. And you can even put your stop here if you wanted, because that's actually your truly identified swing. Okay. You might feel a little bit of heat, but I would probably put mine right there, just simply because I don't want them to take this one out. And see, that trade actually went up. So everybody see how minimum criteria trades can work out too? You know, ES never does this. Look at that. Never does it. From 4 o'clock in the morning on, it just literally did it all night long. And some people could probably still be in it. Even, I think I ran enough data on this to see we're about out. Let me see. That looks like it's getting ready to pause. Does everybody see that? You got a minimum criteria trade right here and right here. There's a minimum criteria here. There's a minimum criteria here. So don't be afraid of those. Even box it in, like earlier when this thing was just trying to head up like a big dog. I mean, if you got this trade right here with ES all the way up to where I called it this morning, with 3 contracts, that was enough to, who needs any more? But it did break out of the little box. Okay? But minimum criteria didn't set up to right here, and that was after we closed the room. Could you have taken that trade and still gotten another 80, what is that? 80 to 92, so 12, about 50 ticks, almost 50 ticks. So keep in mind when you're trading tomorrow and each week as we go on that you want to look for these particular trade setups. Let me back this up a little bit. I think we lost our little chart. That's all right. Everybody knows the chart that I showed earlier. You want to look for mid-band trades. You want to look for stair-stepping for those mid-band trades and minimum criteria trades. Don't go buying mid-band trades. For instance, if you've got, well, this is still green here, but let's see if I can find one. This has been trending pretty good. Yeah, I don't really see any except maybe right through here. If you would have boxed this one in, for a short at the time, you would have probably done your predictor up or your phantom up here to begin with. So there hadn't really been any sideways movement on ES for a day or two. But when you want to be careful with them is when they've really gone sideways for quite a while. Did it pause again? Silly thing. Did everybody get out of this what I hope you did? Potential trend changes are extremely important. Mid-band trades. Stair-stepping down, you want to take the mid-band trade. Changes the background, you want to take the phantom trade. Changes the background, you want to take the phantom trade even if it doesn't work. Because that's a phantom trade right there. And did it fire if you wanted to? Well, I usually fire them at line 2. So if it went up there and then came right back against me, I'd get out of it in a heartbeat. Okay, but then I probably wouldn't short it. I'd wait for the thrust and the pullback. Okay, let's see. Can you make Trading Rules background not black so you can print and have handy for a look? Yeah, I'll work on that. I'll get that by tomorrow sometime. Okay, I ran quite a bit over. I apologize, everyone, but there was quite a bit to go over. And keep in mind, just like Raymond did on this chart right here, you want to understand that when they break these lightning threes like this right here, see, if you didn't see this to the right here, would you have taken that short there like he did? Probably not, but that's a trade we teach. High, low, lower, high, lower, low. Took out the swing. Was it changing trends? Yes. Did it break the trend line? First deal on the deal. Could you have taken the trade on that bar? If you did, I wouldn't let it go back above that line. Because that would be very risky right there. Okay? But it wasn't risky when it took this out. All right? I think I ran this long enough. We'll do this for real in the room. And if anybody has any problems or questions on any of this, just remember we're going to have a live indicator that's going to alert you to these potential trend changes, the mid-band trades, the minimum criteria trades, and all. Okay? And it'll be a little flashing deal. And I'm hoping to even have the bar flash that actually does the actual, where it hits the criteria. Okay? All right, so we'll do this again tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the morning.